Dr. Smith moved my program, so I'm going to blame him. At this time, we're going to introduce our keynote speaker. I am thrilled to have a keynote speaker who is here today with us. We had the privilege last night of hosting him and his wife, Jackie, at our home last night. And it was a great opportunity to get to know someone on a very personal and intimate level. And I can truly say that this man is humble, this man is dedicated, and this man is committed to excellence. And to have him here at our university says a lot. And I'm just going to read just a brief intro, and I would encourage you to go and read the bio that's in the program. It's impressive. And to have this type of individual here on our campus, and also it says a lot about what we're doing in the area of STEM. And to have him here really put a strong signal in that area for us. Charles Frank Bolden was nominated by President Barack Obama and confirmed by the U.S. Senate. He is the first African American to serve as the administrator of NASA. His 34-year career with the Marine Corps included 14 years as a member of the NASA Astronaut Office. He has traveled to orbit 4 times. He has traveled to orbit 4 times aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger, commanding the Space Shuttle on several missions. In addition, he became a Navy aviator and flew more than 100 combat missions in North and South Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. Bolden earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Electrical Science, a Master of Science degree in System Management, and he's an inductee in the U.S. Astronaut Hall of Fame. Please join me in welcoming him to our campus, Charles Frank Bolden.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Dr. Williams. Please, thank you. I would rather hear the choir. I was saying when Dr. Williams was introducing the choir, I said, whew, that's good. You all are awesome. Boy, I'll tell you, where are the 2 soloists? Can they just raise their hand over there? Or stand up or do something? That was incredible. Thank you. I can't sing, but I love to try. I'm not like the president, so I'm not going to sing to you today, although my wife, my beautiful wife, is down there, and I would like to break out on an ah. But I won't. I want to thank the band also and the ROTC Color Guard, President Williams, Senator Carper, Governor Markle, Chairman Claiborne Smith, and all on the Delaware State Board of Trustees, the faculty members, other distinguished guests here, honorees and guests, and most importantly, the Delaware State University class of 2013. That's right. Thank you all for the honor of sharing this important moment with you. You know, my wife and I have been here before, and you can probably guess why. Not on campus, but across the street. And so, as I explained to some of the members of the board last night, we try, although we're not Delaware residents, we try to support the economy of the state of Delaware. It was, you know, it never sank in as we came in the previous times, your mascot, because Jackie and I both, thank you, Jackie and I both went to C.A. Johnson High School in Columbia, South Carolina. And I don't know whether there's anybody from Columbia, South Carolina here, I see back there. But C.A. Johnson High School is the best high school in the state of South Carolina. At least it was when we went through. And our mascot was also the Hornet. We were the C.A. Johnson High School Green Hornets. And let me tell you, when we came around, people knew that we meant business. And it didn't make any difference whether it was basketball, football, track, academics, choir, band, you name it. We were the best. And I assume that the Delaware State Hornets consider yourselves to be the same. And that's probably very true. Before I go any farther, though, I do want to join you in the class of 2013 in a very special part, and a very special part of the Delaware State family. I want to ask you, if you would, stand and applaud your parents, your grandparents, your brothers, sisters, spouses, children, friends, all those who have stood by you, getting you to this point. They deserve it. I did not mean to unleash the crowd. So you all can calm down. The whistles and all that other stuff, there will be time. Okay. Many of them have traveled from great distances to share the joy of this moment, and I know they appreciate the applause you're giving them. Scripture beckons us. Raise your eyes now and look from the place where you are. For all the land that you see, I will give you. That's from the book of Genesis. I want to speak briefly this morning about the opportunities and the challenges that you all face when you leave here today and begin to claim your place in the world. Our vision at NASA is to reach for new heights and reveal the unknown, so that what we do and learn will benefit all humankind. That is a vision that challenges all of us. In my travels across the country and around the world, I find that students everywhere are excited about exploring the unknown and creating a better world. They are fired up about what lies ahead, for the chance to develop capabilities that don't exist today. They want to be a part of something larger than themselves, and they want to leave this world better than they found it. For 112 years, that has been the mission of Delaware State, and all of you have embraced it with a passion. Before Delaware's first black lawyer, Lewis R. Redding of Wilmington, fought alongside Thurgood Marshall to end separate but equal, before the doors of the University of Delaware and other major colleges around the country were open to blacks, this university served as an oasis of opportunity and learning, and over the years has become one of the leading HBCUs in this nation. Class of 2013, you are graduating at a pivotal moment in American history. In 1960, your own associate professor of social work, Dolores Finger Wright, who was then a student at Bennett College, was arrested while protesting in support of the Greensboro Four, the four young men from North Carolina A&T who waged a sit-in at a segregated Woolworth lunch counter, a seminal moment in civil rights history. This year also marks the 150th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation and the 50th anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington, where Martin Luther King Jr. so eloquently reminded us that his dream of equal opportunity was inextricably woven into the fabric of the American dream. 50 years later, this year, we witnessed the second inauguration of America's first black president. Even though challenges remain, Dr. King's dream is still on the march, and there are more ways than ever for you to contribute to the life of this country and to this global community. Delaware State has prepared you well. In this audience sits some of the future leaders of America. I'm especially proud of the role that Delaware State is playing in preparing the next generation of scientists, engineers, and explorers who will be crucial to maintaining America's technological leadership and boosting the nation's economy in the coming years. This university's increased emphasis on STEM is already making a difference. With the help of a NASA grant, you've expanded your optics science program. The head of that college, Dr. Nuruddin Malichi, has been named Delaware's ambassador to Mars for his work on the ChemCam laser that's a part of our Curiosity rover and is being used for the first time to help determine the composition of Martian rock and soil. That's Delaware State. These are the kinds of skills we need at NASA as we enter a new era of space exploration that will take us farther into the solar system than we've ever been before. Yes, our economy is still struggling to recover. Yes, the world has conflicts and challenges that threaten us on a global scale. But I ask you to put those thoughts aside and focus on today. At NASA alone, there are opportunities for you. For those of you with STEM backgrounds, our nation's space program needs you. America's technology industries need you. And thanks to the education you've received here, many of you are fully prepared for those jobs. A new world is yours today. The programs and missions over which I preside at NASA today would have been science fiction when I was growing up back in Columbia, South Carolina. The International Space Station, an orbiting outpost the size of a football field, of this football field, that has been occupied by humans 24/7 for more than 12 years now, would have been unthinkable. 2 years ago, the International Space Station added the nation's first robotic crew member, Robonaut 2, or R2, as we like to call it. Our missions to the Moon, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, and Mars are rewriting science textbooks. We're discovering new planets in other solar systems. We're working with the Federal Aviation Administration and others to transform America's commercial air transportation system to make it faster, safer, cleaner, and more energy efficient. President Obama has asked us to start planning missions with humans to an asteroid by the 2020s and to Mars by the 2030s. We recently announced a new effort to identify, capture, and relocate an asteroid. Last year, SpaceX became the first commercial company to send an unmanned spacecraft to the International Space Station, and earlier this year, a second private company, Orbital Sciences, successfully tested its Antares rocket in preparation for a similar cargo mission to the ISS later this year. This launch will take place not very far from Delaware State, at the Wallops Flight Facility on the Virginia Eastern Shore. For those of you interested in jobs in aerospace industry, you should know we plan to resume launching American astronauts and their cargo from U.S. soil on spacecraft built by American companies within the next 4 years. We want to end the outsourcing of this work to the Russians and bring these jobs back home. Transitioning transport to the International Space Station to U.S. commercial industry partners will allow NASA to do what we do best, make it possible for our astronauts to go deeper into space than anyone has ever gone before. Aside from these amazing technological possibilities, you are entering a far different world than the one that existed when Delaware State was founded 112 years ago. As I mentioned earlier, there have been many hard-won gains for African Americans and others who were disenfranchised. One of the most important victories was ignited on March 7, 1965, on a bridge entering Selma, Alabama. On that day, 600 civil rights marchers were attacked and brutally beaten simply because they were marching for their own basic human rights. At the head of that march, across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, was John Lewis, today a member of the Georgia congressional delegation. 8 days after the attack, President Lyndon B. Johnson came before a joint session of Congress to propose the historic Voting Rights Act. Today, Congressman Lewis likes to say that on the end of that bridge, opposite from the police who attacked the marchers, on the other end of that bridge is President Barack Obama. I understand his view, but I have another. I believe you, the class of 2013, are on the other side of that bridge. It's your generation. It's your generation that will have the chance and the responsibility to take the freedom movement to the next level. Embodied in you are the hopes and dreams and aspirations of a truly united America. It is only as one nation that we will be able to face and conquer the challenges that the global economy as well as science and technology have in store for us. So I ask you to think boldly about how you want to apply your skills that you've acquired here at Delaware State. My daughter is a plastic surgeon, and my son a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Marine Corps. I guess I should say our, as my wife is sitting here in the front. My wife and I have always given them this advice. Dream big dreams. Do what you want to do. Don't listen to anyone who tells you you can't do something or you don't belong. Do your job and do it very well. And don't let the opportunity to make a difference in your world pass you by. I am reminded of the words of a young African boy by the name of Nkosi Johnson. He was a young child born in a place called KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, and telling his story has become a favorite of mine, and some of you may have heard me tell this story before. You may be familiar with Nkosi. But Nkosi was born with AIDS, and his mother died shortly after his birth, but she had asked a young white woman, Gail Johnson, if she would take Nkosi and raise him, and Gail agreed to do that. And so Gail began to raise Nkosi, and people in the village said from the age of about 4, when Nkosi first started to utter any words, he was always telling people what to do. He was always directing. We need to do this for the village. We need to do this for people. He never, ever, ever said anything about himself. His body was racked with sores, pus. His bones were beginning to show through. And an American writer by the name of Jim Wooten heard about Nkosi, traveled to South Africa because Nkosi and Gail, as he grew up, had started to travel around Africa and then around the world to crusade against AIDS. And Jim Wooten met him, and he said, you know, I don't understand. He said, you could be complaining, you could be crying, you could be talking about your pain, and yet you never talk about you. You're always talking about making the world better. What gives? And he said, Nkosi kind of looked at him and smiled. He said, I may be poor, I may be black, I may have AIDS, but in this world we're all the same. And so that became the title of a very small biography of Nkosi Johnson. And Jim Wooten came back to the United States and sometime later got a call saying, hey, Nkosi is going to die. He's on his deathbed. If you want to see him ever again, it's time to come. And so Jim got on an airplane, flew back to South Africa, and he said he went to the hospital, and there was this 12-year-old kid weighing about 20 pounds. And said you could see his skin just kind of barely wrapped around his bones, his body full of pussy sores, and Nkosi had this big smile on his face, this beautiful black face full of sores, but with these perfect white teeth shining through it, and he's saying, we need to do this, we need to do that. And Jim Wooten said, stop, just stop. Said, Nkosi, you're going to die. He said, Nkosi looked at him and he said, yep. He said, you could die today. He said, yep. He said, then I don't understand it. You know, what makes you tick? He said, you have never cried out in pain. You've never asked for anything for yourself. All you've ever done, all I've ever heard you do is talk about looking out for other people. Why? And he said, Nkosi looked up at him and he smiled and he said, you know, you do all you can with what you have in the time that you have in the place that you are. Class of 2013, I can't tell you with any certainty how the social landscape of America or the geopolitical landscape of the world will look in 10 years. But I expect that many of you will help lead us to a better world. Not just more prosperous, but filled with more fairness, opportunity, freedom, creativity, and love. It's been said, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. That's your mission. This is your moment. Go Hornets. Congratulations, good luck, and Godspeed.
Please join me in giving our keynote speaker another round of applause. Recognizing that you work for the Obama administration, we cannot give you a check, but we can give you a plaque to remember this moment. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, President.